Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Like I always say, it's the questions and the things that go on before we start recording. But hurricane season's it's here,
yeah.
more or less. It is here.
Yeah.
You wanted to talk about flood and
Talk about flood and wind a little bit.
flood and wind a little bit, because even with Burl last year, we didn't have the flood. Well, some people did, but downstairs, but we did have the wind. And so let's talk about things to look at coming into hurricane season.
So one of the things that always goes on with insurance is rate. Okay, my rates keep going up. So I was going to talk a little bit about that with wind and maybe a wind and flood, and you know what has happened with wind. We know that there's going to be another meeting coming up in August on windstorm. We're discussing rates. You know, I had a comment the other day about the wind rates going up, and so when you think about that, there's really two components to rate. Okay, there's the cost per thousand, that's a rate change, and then there's the change in building cost. So if your house is a $400,000 house, and the building cost goes up to $440,000, that is a sort of a built-in rate increase because you have more $1,000 to charge. So in windstorm, there really hadn't been a rate increase in a while.
There'd been a building increase.
On residential property,
Right.
there is a mandatory building increase each year.
Okay.
So that means your rate is going to go up because the cost of building goes up.
Right.
So that is something that we can work with. There are some constraints. We can't change the cost of building, but we can modify how you insure it.
Right.
So that is a way that we can look at your windstorm insurance and maybe modify that rate. Maybe you have a 2,000 square foot house and suddenly that 10% has got you to maybe $250 a foot. Well, we might can bring that down to a level that will still give you the replacement cost on losses and keep you compliant with the replacement cost on your total house. So that's one thing that we can do right now. Can't really do anything about a rate increase when and if that comes, which it will one day. But we can work with that portion. The other thing is flood insurance. So a few years ago, they had a change in the way they rated flood. And there's something called an actuarial rate, which is the risk of a house in a certain location and houses like it flooding and the rate they have to charge to be profitable.
Right.
So FEMA hadn't had a change in actuarial rate in 50 years. And a few years ago they did, and it's being implemented. So for example, come to find out, these owned properties, properties on the beach, weren't really those properties were actually profitable because it's a national thing. And for example, Florida's being built to code. Here where we have new building standards that are up, those houses are now being built to code. So in that change, rates actually went down in these owned properties. So then there were other properties such as, it's called BCNX zones, the preferred risk zones. There were lots of claims, like for Meldon, Harvey, places like that, or what happened in North Carolina recently, where places had never flooded, they had catastrophic things. So those preferred risks have gone away, and their rates went up. The same thing that occurred in A zones on the beach. You know, a lot of places behind what we call the slough, that was an A zone. Well, now those are all V zones now.
Right.
And they're rated differently with different base floods. So here's a caveat that we run into sometimes with A zones. So you have this A zone, right? And the rate may have been $500 a year. Well, the actuarial rate now may be $2,500 a year, $2,200 a year. So if someone comes to me and buying a property in the A zone, they're going to get that $2,200 rate.
Right.
Okay, let's say there's a policy on that property now. If they bring me that declarations page, then I can do what is called a transfer.
Right.
And so that $500 rate before versus the $2,200 actuarial rate, there's this thing called a glide path. And it just kind of escalates up each year until it hits the actuarial rate. So now this $500 rate may be $750.
Right.
If they bring me that transfer form.
Okay.
And I can hold that transfer rate and maintain the glide path
all the
or
way
all
up,
the way up.
to save them money in the long
To
run.
save them money in the long run and to save them money right now when they're closing. But they do have to know where they're going.
Where they're going.
But it's a better way to buy it. And if that policy ever lapses, or someone comes and buys it new, then the glide path is gone.
Gone.
Yeah, and that also applies to BC and X zones as well.
That could do something if someone was looking at a home. You know, most incomes go up as you get older, or it may come down, but that'll let them know, hey, we can get into this home now because our insurance is this with a transfer.
Yeah, so that's one of the things when people say, hey, why's my rate going up? So we're talking to them about, because
The glide
yeah,
path.
the homeowners, those rates, they've kind of leveled out. They've kind of become a little bit more stable. But the windstorm, you're currently having that building cost increase.
Right.
And if someone's in a BC or someone's was in an A zone, they're seeing this rate increase in their flood every year, even though there really hadn't been a rate increase in flood.
Right.
It's a built-in rate increase in the glide path. And so we can kind of talk to them about that and the consequence of either of what that means.
Great, great. Well, for more information on this, or if you have any questions on your policy, make sure you go to their website, priestinsuranceragency.com. Contact them through that. That way they can get it to the right department. It'll be Dan or Jamie or Shay that'll give you a call back probably, and get the information you need, especially if you're buying a home. Make sure, see where they stand on that, and it could save you money, because $500 versus $2,200.
Yeah, and those are pretty real numbers.
Yeah, that's a pretty good spread there that could save you, give you some time to build up to the $2,200. So we're going to head on out. We'll be back next week with another show with Priest Insurance Agency. Till next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye. Video equipment is sponsored by Crystal Beach Decor and More, located at 1959 Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas, and Beachy Beatnik Boutique and Jewelry, located at 970 Surfside and Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas. Thank you to these two businesses for being our 2025 video equipment sponsor for Bolivar Live.